Thanks for joining us on what looks like a really active Sunday. Across the tri-state, we've already seen a lot of warnings, all off to our west for now. But looking at Bethpage, you can actually see the clouds moving. Temperatures are close to 80. We have heat index values in the 80s. So this very tropical air mass is fueling some strong thunderstorms. Right now, it's over Seaside Heights in New Jersey, but we're keeping an eye on it over the next hour. So during the 7 o'clock hour, this arrives in Nassau County, areas like Oceanside, Freeport. During the 7 o'clock hour, we're talking heavy rain for you, and we're keeping a close eye on the possibility for isolated tornadoes. I have a full look at this coming up in just a few minutes. The good news is the second half of the day looks a lot quieter than the morning time. Antoinette.
Alex. Well, right now on 12, we are tracking some severe weather warnings that could have dangerous effects on our island. And you can see a lot of rain is heading our way, like Alex mentioned, but it's not just wet weather we're concerned about. So, of course, stick with News 12. In just a few minutes, we'll bring you everything you need to know to stay safe this morning in your full hyperlocal forecast. And this morning we start with brand new video of a devastating crash in Wyandanch. You could see the damage is severe there in what appears to be a head-on collision. Right now, Nassau police can only confirm they received a call just before 12:30 this morning for an accident on Long Island Avenue between South 20th and 21st Street. Officers tell us Long Island Avenue is closed between 20th and 23rd Street for the investigation, which is still active. Of course, we will continue to update you as soon as we learn more. And new details coming out on a robbery of nearly $100,000 worth of merchandise at a store located at the Americana in Manhasset. Officers say it happened around 5:15 yesterday afternoon. We're told two men walked into Morgenthau Fredericks with crowbars. The suspects allegedly snatched 80 pairs of luxury eyeglasses worth almost $100,000 and hopped into a vehicle with an unknown male driver behind the wheel. Officers say that's when the suspects sped off south on Searingtown Road. No injuries are being reported at this time. Of course, anyone with information is encouraged to contact Nassau County Crime Stoppers. That number on your screen, 1-800-244-TIPS. And another active investigation to tell you about this morning. Right now, we know from Nassau Police that a call came in around 10:30 last night. They say police are on the scene at Woodcleft Avenue in Freeport. Now, it's unclear what's happening at this hour, but of course, we are keeping a close eye on the area, and of course, we'll provide any further updates once they are available. And right now, new footage of a car theft you'll only see on 12. Police say this was around 6 Friday evening on Merrick Road in Seaford. The owner of the Late Night Pizzeria says when one of his drivers left the keys in his car, that's when someone jumped in and drove off in reverse.
I mean, I can't believe my other guy reacted that way. He ran right toward the car, and I guess, there was only so much he could do besides throwing himself on top of the vehicle and putting himself in danger, but he attempted to go after him.
Luckily, the delivery driver was not hurt. The pizzeria also happens to be across the street from the 7th Police Precinct on Merrick Road. And this morning, we continue to follow the breakthrough arrest in a case that's terrorized Long Island for nearly 13 years. Prosecutors claim Rex Heuermann of Massapequa Park is the Gilgo Beach killer. He's now facing charges in the murders of 3 women. The 59-year-old is also named as a prime suspect in a 4th murder. Prosecutors say he used fake names and burner phones to lure the women to their deaths. Heuermann has pleaded not guilty. He's being held without bail. And Rex Heuermann's Massapequa Park house is still a very active crime scene. Investigators from multiple agencies spent Saturday removing the suspect's belongings from his house. And this major break in an infamous cold case is drawing curiosity and relief from people all across the island.
It looks like a scene from a movie, like Criminal Minds. Everybody thinks like not me, but it's right here in our neighborhood, which is so crazy. I feel like I'm watching Criminal Minds right now.
We've been watching it for years. When it first happened, it was very scary as a woman myself. So now that they finally get him, it's like, oh my God, finally.
Heuermann is also the prime suspect in the 2007 disappearance and death of a 4th woman, Maureen Brainard Barnes. Well, people say he seemed like your average Long Island family man, but police say he was a cold-blooded killer. So what do we know about Rex Heuermann? News 12's investigative reporter Tara Rosenblum digs deeper into his life.
Now that he's been named as the suspect in one of the most intense serial killer hunts to ever play out on American soil, many astonished New Yorkers are asking, who is Rex Heuermann?
He's a nice guy. He's always been quiet, never bothered anybody.
Neighbors tell us the 59-year-old married father kept a relatively low profile in the Massapequa Park neighborhood he called home. But through an extensive review of public documents, online videos, and his own company website, we've been able to learn a lot more about his backstory. Heuermann graduated from Berner High School in 1981. Actor Billy Baldwin even sharing his shock over his former classmate's arrest. The suspected serial killer graduated with a degree in architectural technology from the New York Institute of Technology, then started his own company in 1994 along Manhattan's storied Fifth Avenue. RH Consultants and Associates counts big names like Target, Nike, Catholic Charities, and even Cipriani as clients, according to their company website, which also boasts of the team's more than 2-decade-long experience working with New York City building code and all major city agencies. We also found state records showing Heuermann's architecture license is in good standing without any enforcement actions listed.
I'm a troubleshooter, born and raised on Long Island.
Okay.
Been working in Manhattan since 1987.
In an older interview posted by Bonjour Realty that we have permission to share with you.
Can you smile?
That is.
Heuermann appears jovial, kidding about the weather on a similarly gloomy day as his arrest.
I wasn't looking forward to doing this under a scaffold.
He goes on to brag about his prowess, troubleshooting negotiations with the New York City Building Department on behalf of his high-profile clients.
When a job that should have been routine suddenly becomes not routine, I get the phone call, which is why at home I have an extensive library.
I'm sure.
Of obsolete books.
Yet when the Turn to Tara team did a search of his own financial records, we discovered a trail of federal tax liens dating back more than a decade, one of them for over $100,000. Records show he married his first wife, Elizabeth, in 1990, but later got a divorce and has since remarried. His daughter reportedly working at her father's firm.
I think it's taught me more about how to understand people. What I do, we have to have so many tools in the toolbox. One of the things I learned from my father was furniture building.
Okay.
He was an aerospace engineer and built satellites, built furniture at home, and I still build it in the same exact workshop.
But unlike his father, Heuermann designed buildings by day and, according to police, murdered women by night. Tara Rosenblum, News 12.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Alex Calamia with an update on our very soggy to be Sunday morning. We have our first round of rain coming in the 7 o'clock hour for Nassau County, and then it lingers through 8 o'clock for Suffolk. These storms have produced tornado warnings in New Jersey. This one has not in particular if it's heading toward the island, but we have a really unusual setup here with incredibly humid air. Temperatures are near 80 degrees as the sun rises, and dew points are in the 80s. We have a flow of wind, as you can see, coming in basically from the tropics, and this is fueling storms. So I would not be surprised if we do see some rotating thunderstorms. We are expecting this downpour to continue on and off throughout the morning and then become a little bit more isolated in the afternoon. So we're keeping a very close eye on things for you today. So again, the best risk for rain is actually through the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. Then we'll watch again around lunchtime for some good rain chances. After sunset, your rain risk is lower, but it does look like some of the most severe weather is going to happen this morning. We've had, again, numerous issues in the Hudson Valley and in New Jersey this morning, so we're keeping an eye as these storms make their way toward the island. The temperatures are close to 80. We will have the opportunity for some flash flooding with a few storms. Tonight, we drop into the 70s and we're much drier, and tomorrow temperatures are approaching close to 90, so it's going to be a hot day. But today we are on storm watch throughout the afternoon. A few of these strong storms could produce up to 3 inches of rain. You're watching News 12.
right now on 12. We are on Storm Watch, tracking some severe weather warnings that could have dangerous effects on our island. You could see a lot of rain is heading our way, but it's not just wet weather we're concerned about. Stick with News 12. In just a few minutes, we'll bring you everything you need to know to stay safe this morning in your full hyperlocal forecast. Our Storm Watch team is watching the conditions, and your full hyperlocal forecast is just 5 minutes away. Now, for millions, student loan repayments are starting again soon. News 12's Christy Reeder talked to experts and gives us the real deal on a repayment strategy that could save you thousands of dollars.
Many New Yorkers are getting ready for a big budget change.
There's more than 2.5 million student loan borrowers in the state of New York alone, and the average balance is over $38,000, a little bit higher than the national average. Now, no one's had to make a payment in over 3 years, so we're going to see how that impacts their finances.
And there are a lot of questions about how to save money on this. Betsy Mayotte is fielding a lot of those questions. She's with the Institute of Student Loan Advisors, a nonprofit providing free student loan advice. One of the big questions:
when is interest going to start accruing on my loans again? The answer to that is September 1st.
She says another big question is, what is the best repayment plan? And the strategy for that could help save thousands.
They're basically altering an existing income-driven plan to make it a lot more generous.
She tells me the SAVE plan will roll out in waves, and the changes will lower a lot of people's payments.
To me, one of the biggest factors is if your payment amount is less than the amount of interest that accrues every month, the government's going to forgive the rest of that interest. So if you're on this plan, you will not be in a scenario where you're paying every month, but your balance keeps going up.
She says that part won't be effective until July of next year. Mayotte wants viewers to know that under any income-driven plan, it doesn't always mean a lower monthly payment.
If your income is a lot higher than what your loan balance is, you could actually end up with a higher payment than what you would have under the standard repayment plan. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The name of the game is paying the least amount over time.
But for some, it may be tough for the budget. So look at all the plans and how they would work for you. I'm Christy Reeder, and that's The Real Deal.
So what are the ingredients in your cold beverage of choice? New scrutiny by health officials and lawmakers is serving up concerns over extreme caffeine and a specific artificial sweetener. Here's health reporter Gillian Neff.
What beverage do you reach for when you're thirsty? If you're loving the popular energy drink Prime, Senator Chuck Schumer wants you to be aware of its caffeine content.
An 8.4-ounce can of Red Bull has 80 milligrams of caffeine. A 12-ounce can of Prime, by contrast, contains 200 milligrams of caffeine, more than 100% of Red Bull, and close to 10 times as much as a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola. Close to 10 times as much. This is an eye-popping level of caffeine for a young kid's body.
As Senator Schumer calls on the FDA to investigate, saying the drink contains a dangerous amount of caffeine and is marketed in a way that's appealing to children, Prime is firing back, saying their products are within safe guidelines. Meanwhile, the safety of other beverages may also be called into question. A committee within the World Health Organization says aspartame, an artificial sweetener in about 6,000 products worldwide, should be deemed possibly carcinogenic to humans. While this concern is based on 3 studies, many health officials say as long as you're not consuming large amounts of aspartame regularly, you should be safe. American Beverage, a group that represents the non-alcoholic drink industry, said in a statement, the fact that food and safety agencies worldwide, including the FDA, continue to find aspartame safe makes us confident in the safety of our products.
The recommendation that WHO made was to moderate both the consumption of free sugars and the consumption of sweeteners.
This doctor and others say plain old water is what our bodies really need.
I'm health reporter Gillian Neff, and that's your News 12 Health Report.
And we have a really busy morning on the island. It hasn't been a huge issue yet, but if you've stepped outside, you already notice that incredible humidity out there and the breeze coming in from the south. So this air is pumping up some very strong storms. We've had tornado warnings, flash flood warnings all across New Jersey, and now we're keeping an eye on this storm system right off the South Shore, now already bringing some rain showers in Nassau County, and it's going to fill in throughout Suffolk County until at least the 9 o'clock hour. We have some good chances for downpours. Dew points are the highest that they have been so far this year. We are basically at the worst humidity that it can possibly get at here on the island, and now we have a storm system pushing through and it is going to wring it out like a sponge. So expect heavy rain to produce localized flooding in spots. This is not the morning that you want to play games. When a storm is coming by, just avoid it. We could even see a brief isolated tornado. So we are here. We have Jacob here as well. The two of us are tracking all of these storms so that way as soon as it happens, we're back on the air to let you know. And of course, our app will keep you updated too. But again, mostly the timing for the worst of this is this morning, and then it's isolated in the afternoon. Scattered downpours still lingering, but not as widespread. So the first half of the day, not great. Here's 8 to 9 o'clock. Look at this heavy rain pushing in across the island, 10 o'clock as well. This is model guidance, and the models have not been doing a really great job with storm timing. So take this with a grain of salt. Take the location of these storms with a grain of salt as well. But we have seen consistency that things break up a bit in the afternoon. If anything, we'll probably be looking more toward the east end, towards Suffolk County for the afternoon. And yeah, you know, there could be an opportunity for 2 inches of rain in some of these storms. We've seen that occur with some of these storms off to the west. So you'll want to stay tuned here, especially this morning and early afternoon. It's hot Monday, hazy on Tuesday, and dry for much of the week.
Cool treats to making a splash in the warm sun. Summer's in the air, and News 12 will be there with reliable weather to help you plan that beach day or backyard barbecue, and real-time traffic reports to get you where you're going with less stress.
I think it's going to be really fun for all of us.
Plus all the local news and hot happenings in your neighborhood. Summer on 12. Local matters.
Bananas are an incredible fruit. Love them or hate them, the plants sure look beautiful and maybe deserve a place in your yard. That's what we're talking about in this week's Garden Guide. Bananas are my favorite fruit and the most consumed fruit, by the way, in the entire country, but banana plants add a whole different special element to your garden. Did you know that there are literally hundreds and hundreds of types of banana plants? The first one we're going to talk about doesn't produce any fruit at all. This one is all about the leaves. Look at this dark red foliage. Absolutely beautiful. It actually grows in cooler temperatures, so when you plant it in the spring, it's going to quickly leaf out, as opposed to the more tropical ones that take some time. And this spends the entire winter in the garage, by the way. I just dig it up. It's that easy. There's an even more cold-tolerant banana that many of you may have already heard of. This banana plant is becoming so common, many local nurseries are carrying it. It's called the Musa Baju. The reason why it's cold tolerant is because of its underground stem. It's called a rhizome, and it can actually handle freezing temperatures. So even though the whole top of the plant will die back during the winter time, it'll actually re-sprout in the spring, and it is a legitimate banana plant. But if you're looking for actual fruit, I've got a tip for you. Bananas are actually the largest herb in the world, believe it or not. What you're seeing here is not a trunk, it's a stem. That pseudostem needs to be several years old to produce a bud on the top of it that will eventually allow fruit to grow. So that is the reason why this plant is so big. If you're looking for a smaller banana that could also give you some fruit, you can try a dwarf Cavendish. Those are really common at nurseries, and if you're patient, you'll eventually get some fruit in a pot. And I'm not the only one growing banana plants around here. We have George in Port Jefferson. Check this out. This is his Musa Baju banana plant. Absolutely huge. We have Lenny in Sound Beach. and of course their dog Bailey. And George also has a dog. If you look really carefully, you could see Bear there. And Scott, not only does he have bananas like Lenny, but he also is getting some fruit too. I don't want to block his face. These are just a few of the incredible gardeners across the state that are growing these cold-tolerant banana plants. Can you believe that? That is a legitimate banana. This type of banana, the Musa Beiju, is basically like a perennial, as we talked about in the story, but it does not produce edible bananas. This is more of a wild banana species as you see them in nature, and the banana fruit actually just contain a whole bunch of seeds. Just a little appreciation for a tropical fruit that turns out can actually survive here.
Thank you, Alex. All right, it's going to be a stormy Sunday. Coming up right here on News 12, we're tracking heavy rain and possible flooding and new information in what appears to be a head-on collision in Wyandanch. The roads to avoid if you're heading out. Plus, continuing coverage of the Gilgo Beach murder suspect and investigation. You're watching News 12, where local matters. We'll be right back.